in the M&A world, we're always talking about deal teams. And oftentimes the messaging that we send out is make sure you have a deal team in place for the preparation of the sale of your business. But you take it a step further, and I think it makes a lot of sense. You talk about putting a team in place at the onset of your business so that everyone's aligned, they understand your strategy. Can you tell us, how you approach this with business owners and your clients?
Absolutely. This is the idea that, and this all exists. I believe most business owners are going to be doing this informally. But what I'm talking about here is being more purposeful about, aligning all of your advisors for your business from the onset, right? Or at least, in the initial stages, building that advisory board, right? And advisory board sounds pretty fancy and it's probably meant to sound a little bit more sophisticated, but really it is, you call it a deal team, right? It's the same exact concept. Deal team, I think would imply, okay, well, it's your deal team for this specific event. Advisory board, what I'm talking about is, advisors that are going to be with you basically the entire life of your business, and people that you have to call on with regularity throughout any given year. And in fact, the idea is to have putting some purpose or an intention about getting these people aligned so that they know each other, they know what your business and personal objectives are from the onset, what you are working towards, so that they can collaborate with you, for you, on an ongoing basis. And so we're talking about the obvious ones again: accountants, lawyers, financial advisors, insurance folks, business coaches. Maybe there's going to be mentors within your industry that you can call upon, right? And the idea is to formalize that these people have a relationship. Look, we're not talking about you need to be going out for beers every month or anything like that, but there should be, at the very least, I'd say 1 year where annually there's going to be a meeting of the people that you would call your advisors, right? And the purpose is to discuss direction and what's happened, where we're going, what steps, what does everybody do, how does everybody feel? Because that's part of the achieving the alignment aspect to it, because all these people have their views and their experiences and their training, and the idea is to get them all aligned with rowing in the same direction. Because truthfully, we do not professional advisors, professional business advisors, I don't think we've nailed it by any means yet about making sure that we can all work together. I don't think that there's a strong history of working together. And I think it has been to the detriment of business owners. And what I'm referring to is, professionals, accountants, lawyers, other advisors working in silos, right? Where client talks to a lawyer and the lawyer gives advice, right? And then the client goes to the accountant and said, okay, well, the lawyer said this, and it's like, oh, wait a second, that's not right. They didn't even consider any of the tax things, so this is what you need to do, right? And then the business coach may say something else as well, and then it's like, okay, what am I doing here? Where are we going? It doesn't make sense. And what I see is, unfortunately, that's the landscape. And again, the hard part here, therefore the success will lie, is the efforts that a business owner puts into aligning all those people. And unfortunately, for a lot of business owners who are, maybe they're 5 years away from retirement or sale, and they've been working with their accountant, their lawyer for the last 30 years. They've been with them all this time, but maybe the business or what is being asked about a transition and exit is beyond the skill set and in the wheelhouse of an advisor, right? And it has to take a hard look, and that's an uncomfortable conversation, and that's an uncomfortable decision. However, if that advisor is not right for a deal team, or they are not right for an advisory board because they're not really willing to work out. They think that their ideas are always best, or they don't really believe or have that collaborative attitude. And it's not, it is a skill, but it is mostly, it's a mindset and a philosophy. And you're going to be able to tell pretty quickly, because I see, whether it's accountants, lawyers, there is, they're trying to fit a client in a box because they know how to operate within this box. That doesn't work because clients are not boxes, right? They've got hopes and dreams, and they want to, and they've got achievement, and none of them are the same. And they're all influenced by their own perspectives and experiences. And this is what I say, it's like, look, not everybody wants to just, their only objective is to get the most amount of money possible. That's a lot of the folks, but it's not everybody. And in my experience, a lot of folks, that isn't their ultimate objective. But I feel that that's all where the professionals are coming at them from, instead of going, what is important to you, right? What are we trying to do? And again, if you're doing this for the last 20 years, when you get to that point, it is just so much easier. All the hard work has been done already, and you're going to get a better result. It's glaring, and it just makes that so much less stressful, more certain, and I can almost guarantee you're going to get more money at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think the key point too, and it relates to the previous slide, is this is a best practice. This isn't something you should wait and do. And the other piece that came to mind while you were saying all of this is, if you look at publicly traded companies and larger private companies, there's a reason they have a board in place. It's to ensure that they're covering all their bases. And what you're proposing is essentially having an informal advisory board where everyone's of the same collaborative mindset, and they're helping the business owner achieve their goals. And so, from my perspective, when they get ready for the M&A portion of their business cycle, they're going to be well represented, they're going to be in a great position, and they're not going to be scrambling to put a deal team in place.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've discussed it at length in the past, how frustrating it can be for a business owner who has felt that they have struck a deal, right? Whether that's with an employee, whether that's with a third party competitor, whatever, or with their family, to go, great, we've got the deal in place. This is what we want. This is how it's going to all work. And maybe, all the accounting people have signed off on it. It's good from the tax perspective. And then it gets into the lawyer's hands to draft up. And then the lawyer, looks at what, is like, okay, well, this is what we want to achieve here. Or this is what the terms are. And then the lawyer says, well, what about this? Have we thought about that? Because if we do this, then we're not going to be able to do this. And that's extremely frustrating, because it has the appearance of going, wow, this lawyer's screwing it up, right? But really, that lawyer's just trying to do their job. And we can avoid all that by, why wasn't all of that involved, from the initial conversations, right? Because what happens is there's an emotional aspect to it as well, because it can be the frustration comes from thinking, it is an emotional thing, an event, your business, right? It represents a lot more than just the way you make your money. There's a significant identity aligned with it all. And the prospect of selling it, what that means for retirement and what happens, and hanging out with the grandkids or whatever it is, that all means something. And so when you think that you've pushed that boulder up the mountain, and there it is on top of the mountain, and you're relieved and you've got that satisfaction, and then because of not everything's been looked at by everybody that needs to look at it, and you get an email that says, well, way to pump the tire or pump the brakes here. We need to take a step back here, right? And then it's like, okay, well, that boulder just rolled back on me, and this is very, very difficult. And worst case, deals fall apart because, that if it was not on those terms, then I wouldn't do it. Or, the boy, your lawyer, is just screwing all this up. And, that's not that's the result. But that isn't the reason why. The reason why not everybody was brought in at the time when they should have been brought in and worked through this together. And I think it does a disservice to everybody, and it doesn't make for a good experience. And there's no reason why that has to be that way.
Right. I was going to ask you, Andrew, I mean, with buyers coming to the table, and you've already got a deal team or an advisory team on board, how many buyers have you seen that just, retain the lawyer and accountant and other advisors, post acquisition? Is it quite common for you to just continue on with the new buyer?
If they are a employee or they are a family member, yeah, absolutely. When things go well, they're going to continue on with the services there. Typically, if it's a third party coming in, whether it's a competitor or a complementary business or whatever, the chances are less likely because of because they're going to have their own team already in place, and if they're happy with that. That said, when things go well, when a seller is prepared and is able to participate in an exit transition and transaction effectively, then a buyer, it's a chance for those professionals as well to basically make an impression on potential new clients, right? You say it's like, hey, look, my guy wasn't that good, right? Maybe I want to expose myself to the people that I bought. Maybe I want to use that. It does increase the chances significantly when those advisors on board. And I wouldn't put it past any buyer, if an advisory board and having something organized and something disciplined around your advisory board isn't a selling feature. It just looks good, right? And it just makes sense. It's and all of those things going, hey, look, this is a well-run business, right? This is a well-managed business. They got their stuff together. I want to be a part of that, right? And so there's many, many reasons to do it, not just best practice. It could speak to marketing. There's a huge emotional element to know, because again, what we're talking about is more certainty, more feeling like you're prepared, more that you're not in this alone, that you've got people covering your back. I'll tell you a quick story. When what this means for contingency. So I've got my informal advisory board for my business, right? And so, every time I go anywhere with the other business owner, which happens to be my spouse, we're flying just whether for pleasure, I'm talking to, the people on my advisory board that, hey, look, if something happens, remember, you're talking to this person, right? It's like, okay. And so I talk to, whether my executor or someone advisor in my life. So I talk to my financial advisor. I'm like, remember, contact my accountant, Tim. Talk to if something happens to me, contact my business coach, Dan Holstein. And because if I go down for whatever reason, these are the people that know how to run my business. And it gives my family, gives my employees, gives my team a chance to kind of continue going, even if I'm out of commission for any reason, right? And therefore, it creates continued value there, and that I can get something for it for my family at the end of the day, or it can be purchased as a going concern rather than a fire sale or whatever. So there's so many reasons about that. And I think it's just good, solid contingency planning, as well as achieving better results on an exit.
Right. No, it does make a lot of sense. Thanks for joining us. Thank you very much. Good chatting with you, Andrew.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Jim.
Take care.